In 1974, 2 years before America turned 200, lefties started a Tea Party movement. A lefty group called the People's Bicentennial Commission published what they called a planning and activity guide for citizens' participation during the bicentennial years. And in that guide, this is 1974, they suggested that people form tea parties because they said the country needed, quote, a new party, a movement that will treat tax reform as one aspect of a fight for genuine equality of property and power. Equality of property? Yeah, the lefty Tea Party idea from the 70s was that the T in Tea Party should stand for tax equity for Americans. Equity as in equality. They made some suggestions for lefty Tea Partiers, including, quote, how about a King George exhibit of tax avoiders in some public park with pictures and charts of the loopholes they used? Why not use the example of the Boston Tea Party to highlight all the loopholes and tricks that rich people and corporations use to avoid paying their fair share of taxes? Why not? The People's Bicentennial Commission, again, this is 1974, also suggested that left-wing Tea Partiers of the 1970s use the slogan, "Don't tread on me." Doesn't that just burn you up, conservative Tea Partiers, that just one generation ago a bunch of dirty hippies looked at the same Gadsden flag, the same chapter in the history book about throwing the tea into Boston Harbor, and they took exactly the opposite political message from it for today? Doesn't that burn you up? I thought it would. Which is why if you guys really want to get your blood pressure going, you should read the book I got that out of. It's called The Whites of Their Eyes, The Tea Party's Revolution and the Battle Over American History. It's written by Harvard American History professor Jill Lepore, who joins us now for the interview. Professor Lepore, thank you very much for being here. Congratulations on this book.
Thanks a lot.
I enjoyed it very much. And I think that it is a book about American history and the Tea Party, both for critics of the Tea Party and for Tea Partiers. It seemed like you actually really enjoyed your interactions with the movement.
Yeah, I really did. So, I teach a research seminar at Harvard on the Revolution every spring, and the Tea Party was forming. We would go out and do field trips in Boston, and we'd bump into people from the Tea Party. And, we were doing a field trip trying to go down to the ship or go down to the harbor and study the events of the 18th century. And these people are also deeply interested in the 18th century. I think the interest in most ordinary people who are involved in the Tea Party movement in the Revolution is quite passionate and deeply felt. So I thought, I got to go hang out with these people and see why. It's really actually kind of a hard sell in class, trying to get people to come take a class in the Revolution. Everyone wants to take, 1968 to the present. This is, the most popular American history class.
I want to know why my dad's so weird.
Yeah, and you're just like, oh, come on, the Revolution is so interesting. And then, so finally, all of a sudden, all these people are so interested in the Revolution. So it's really fun to go and hear what fascinated them about the Revolution. It was discordant because it's completely different from what I think about the Revolution and how I teach it. But really interesting to hear those views.
When you say it's discordant and it's different from what you know about history as an American history professor, is it that people are telling stories that aren't true, or that people are, in being so invested in coming up with lessons for today's politics from American history, they have skewed stuff?
I think there's a variety of different ways that people... there's obviously a quite cynical kind of poaching of the past. Let's just hunt through history to find something that buttresses our own political argument. And people do. That's a long-standing political tradition. People did that, 2 years after the Revolution was over, right? That's kind of how politics works. And sometimes that's cynical and sometimes that's not. But I think that for most of the people that I was hanging out with in the Tea Party, what the Revolution meant to them was something that I might think more of as a kind of folklore. They had the kind of... I don't know here in New York, but in Massachusetts, kids learn about the American Revolution in elementary school, and then you actually don't learn about it later again. So most people, when they think about the Revolution, before I went to graduate school, I think about Johnny Tremaine, or now there's the American Girl doll, there's a revolution. People have a kind of, it's not like juvenilia, and so there's almost a kind of almost childlike nostalgia for how heroic those tales are and these larger-than-life figures. And I think that that's actually a part of our civic heritage, and it's not how historians think about the past. So what's kind of odd about the Tea Party is this, civic-minded folklore that we cherish, that are a set of kind of stories we tell about the past, being deployed to make political arguments that are completely inflexible.
Yeah, well, you describe it as a form of historical fundamentalism, this sort of, this thing that a lot of different people have done from a lot of different perspectives, commodification and almost like merchandising of the revolution and the founding fathers. You describe the way it's being used now as a fundamentalism, and what do you mean by that?
Well, I think that what's kind of a bunch of different things come together, and as you know, the Tea Party is a vast and diffuse and somewhat confused movement in a lot of ways, so all sort of elements play in. But one of the things that I think's really happened is that originalism as a mode of jurisprudence, as an argument about how we ought to interpret the Constitution in the courts, contributes to how we think about the 18th century, especially people on the far right, as does fundamentalism. I mean, since the Reagan Revolution, you think about the role of evangelicals and their influence in American political culture. And originalism and fundamentalism, religious fundamentalism, share a set of ideas about the past that are completely opposed to how historians think about the past. Right? We want to investigate it and question it and uncover it and explore and interrogate the past. They actually want us to revere the past, and we want to understand the past as having a finality to it.
Yeah.
So the way that
questioning it is a form of blasphemy, then.
Questioning, right. So if you make a political argument, let's say I disagree with the bailout, and I'm going to say to you, okay, here's my disagreement with the bailout. I don't think the tax structure is effective. Looking forward, I don't think it's sustainable. I'm worried about the debt, etc. If I say to you, the Founding Fathers would have been opposed to the bailout. And I've also said to you, the Founding Fathers are divinely inspired. And the Constitution is a sacred document. And it speaks to us the way the Gospels speak to us. The way Jesus is alive today, he's as alive today as he was the day he died. That's an important truth for many people. And to think about the people who drafted the Constitution in that same way, that's what I mean by historical fundamentalism. Yeah. Because then how can we actually debate the bailout? Because if I say to you, no, I actually don't think, I actually support the bailout.
Then I'm going to burn you at the stake.
Then I'm a heretic. Yeah, that's right. And this is obviously, this is not where we're at. But this is what's worrisome to me. Because that's actually not a political conversation. That's where civility ends. That's actually where a public conversation breaks down.
And that's where you have to be invested in evidence having no meaning in order to always be sure that your interpretation of history will win the day.
Right.
Yeah. Jill Lepore, author of The Whites of Their Eyes, The Tea Party's Revolution, and the Battle Over American History, American History professor at Harvard. This is a great read, and I really enjoyed it, and it's nice of you to come in. Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks a lot.